Hello everybody, I welcome you all again. This video was supposed to come up 2 days back. However, due to technical issues, I'm recording this again. Let's get back to work without wasting time. Today, we are to learn about the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. See, we saw the President is the nominal executive, so Prime Minister becomes the real executive authority and also the head of the government. Now, Prime Minister alone is nothing when we come to the head of the government. It is Prime Minister along with the Council of Ministers that makes up the real executive authority. Let's look into further detail and know more. We come to appointment of Prime Minister. Under Article 75, it says that the Prime Minister is appointed by the President. The President has to appoint the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha. However, when no party has a clear majority, President may exercise his personal discretion, which is usually that he appoints the leader of the largest party or coalition in the Lok Sabha. Also, then that person, that Prime Minister, is asked to seek a vote of confidence. The President exercises an individual judgment also when the Prime Minister in office dies suddenly. One more thing that we need to see is a person who is not member of either House of Parliament can be appointed as Prime Minister for 6 months, within which he should become a member of either House of Parliament, and Prime Minister may be a member of any of the two Houses of Parliament, which in case of Britain is the Prime Minister has to be a member of the lower house, that is House of Commons. Now let's see to the appointment of the Council of Ministers. Again, these ministers are appointed by the President, however, on the advice of the Prime Minister, and the members of the Parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, are appointed as ministers. However, again, if a person is not a member, can be appointed, but within 6 months, he must become a member or he ceases to be a minister. Also, minister who is a member of one House of Parliament has the right to speak or take part in proceedings of other house also, but he can vote only in the house of which he is a member. Next, we come to the oath, term and salary. Let's first know about the Prime Minister. See, the President administers the oath of the Prime Minister, and the oaths are henceforth here to bear truth, faith and allegiance to the Constitution, uphold the sovereignty and integrity, faithfully discharge the duties, and to do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law. One more oath that he takes, that he swears, is that he will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter that is brought under his consideration. Why? Because he is known to be as a union minister, and also except when he is required for the due discharge of his duty as such minister. The oath and salary of ministers, that is the Council of Ministers, the oath here is again the same. Let's look into the term and the salary. See, term of Prime Minister is not fixed. He holds office during the pleasure of the President. However, as long as the Prime Minister enjoys a majority of the support in the Lok Sabha, he cannot be dismissed by the President. Also, salary is determined by the Parliament. Here also, salary is determined by the Parliament for Council of Ministers also. Now, before diving further, let's look into some articles that's there in the Constitution. See, Article 74 has Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister is there to aid and advise the President. Second, nature of the advice tendered by these ministers cannot be inquired by any court. Also, any exercise of executive power without the aid and advice of Council of Ministers and President will be unconstitutional and violative of Article 74. See, then again we have here Article 74. We can see Council of Ministers and Prime Minister has to be there to aid and advise the President. Also, one more thing that's here is that if the President required the Council of Ministers to reconsider any advice given by them, the President shall act in accordance with the advice if after such reconsideration whatever advice is tendered. Then we have Article 75. Here, President shall be appointed by the President, and also Ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the President. And the third point is that Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the People. We'll know about this in further detail. Let's look into Article 78. This says about the duty of the Prime Minister, that is to communicate to the President, to furnish information and to submit for the consideration. This also we'll know further into this video. We again have Article 74. We again have Article 75. Here we know that appointment is done by President. Also, Article 75 says about the total strength, which was added by the 91st Amendment Act of 2003. Then it also says that the person will be disqualified on the ground of defection. This also is mentioned in 91st Amendment Act of 2003, and from this was added into Article 75. Then we also have that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha, which we again had here. Then we have administer the oath of office, that is the President shall administer the oath of office. This oath comes under Article 75, and then the salaries and allowances of ministers also comes under Article 75. Next, we have Article 77. Here it says that executive action taken in the name of President comes under Article 77. Then the orders made and executed by the President or authenticated in manners in which the rules to be made by the President. These are all mentioned in Article 77. Then we also have President shall make rules for more convenient transaction of the business of the Government of India and for allocation among the ministers of the said business. All these rules comes under Article 77. Then we have Article 78. Again, the duty of the Prime Minister, which we knew before. We'll again go into this in further details in this video itself. Then we have Article 88. Here it says that ministers have the right to speak, take part in the proceedings and joint sitting of the House of any committee, however, shall not be entitled to vote. All this was easy. Now let's look into the powers and functions of the Prime Minister and then for the Council of Ministers. See, when it comes to powers and functions in relation to the Council of Ministers, we see that the Prime Minister recommends person that has to be appointed as ministers to the President. Then Prime Minister allocates and reshuffles various portfolios among the ministers. He can ask a minister to resign or advise the President to dismiss him. Also, he presides over the meeting of the Council of Ministers. Then he guides, directs, controls and coordinates the activities of all the ministers. And then he can bring about the collapse of the Council of Ministers. How? By resigning. And how? Why can he do this? Because the Prime Minister stands at the head of the Council of Ministers and he cannot function when the Prime Minister resigns or dies. Then when we see the powers and responsibilities of the Prime Minister in relation to the President, we'll see that the Prime Minister is the principal channel of communication that we've seen. Now you mention which article is this under the comment section below. See, so he is the principal channel of communication. He communicates to the President all the decisions of the Council of Ministers that they are making relating to administration of the affairs or the proposals for legislation. Also, he only furnishes such information relating to all the administration of the affairs as the President may call for, and if the President requires, he has to submit for the consideration of the Council of Ministers any matter where the decision has been taken but has not been considered by the Council yet. Then he advises the President for appointment of important officials like Attorney General, CAG, Chairman and members of UPSC, Election Commissioners, members of the Finance Commission. So when we saw that the President appoint these bodies, we can see here that it is all on the advice of the Prime Minister. Again, in relation to the Parliament, we can see that he only advises the President to summon to prorogue the Parliament. He can recommend a solution and he announces the government policies on the floor of the House. Then we see the other powers and functions. He is the Chairman of the Planning Commission, which is now the Niti Aayog and other bodies. Then he plays a significant role in shaping the foreign policy. He is the chief spokesman of Union government. He is the crisis manager in chief. He meets various sections of people and receives the memoranda from them regarding their problems. He is the leader of the party. He is the political head of the service. Also, B.R. Ambedkar stated that he can be compared with the US President also. His role is very significant and highly crucial. Now let's first look into the composition of Council of Ministers. See, Council of Ministers consists of three categories, that is the Cabinet Ministers, Ministers of State and Deputy Ministers. All of these differ according to the ranks, emoluments, political importance, etc. See, the Cabinet Ministers head the important ministries, so their responsibilities extend over the entire ambit of the central government. However, Ministers of States can either be given independent charge of the ministries or can be attached to these Cabinet Ministers. However, if they are attached, there can also be two options. They can either be given the charge of the departments or they can be allotted specific items of work under the supervision and guidance of the Cabinet Ministers again. Also, they are not the members of the Cabinet and do not attend the Cabinet meetings. However, they can if they are specially invited. Next, we have the Deputy Ministers. We see that they are not given independent charge of ministers, which was at least an option in the case of Ministers of State. We also see that they are attached to the Cabinet Ministers or Ministers of States and they assist them. Also, they are not members of the Cabinet and do not attend Cabinet meetings, which was also at least a chance for the Ministers of State. Then we have an important portion which says that there's also one more category of ministers which is called parliamentary secretaries. What are they? They are the members of the last category of the Council of Ministers. Then they have no department under their control and they are attached to the senior ministers and assist them in discharge of their parliamentary duties. We also have one more concept of deputy prime ministers. They are only appointed mostly for political reasons. Knowing this, now let's know the work of the ministers. See, first we come to that the ministers, the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha, that is they own joint responsibility to the Lok Sabha for all their acts of formation and commission. They either swim or sing together. Then we have that the President may not oblige the Council of Ministers that has lost the confidence of the Lok Sabha. One more important part is that the cabinet decisions bind all cabinet ministers even if they differ in the cabinet meeting. In other words, it is the duty of every minister to stand by cabinet decisions and support them both within and outside the parliament. Also, if they disagree with the cabinet decision or are not prepared to defend or stick by it, they must resign. Then we see individual responsibility. Again, Article 75, we already know that they hold office during the pleasure of the president, and president can remove a minister, however, only on the advice of the president. Also, there is one small portion that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar observed, that why is this only on the advice of the president? Because collective responsibility can be achieved only through the instrumentality of the prime minister. Now, there's also one small portion of saying that these council of ministers have no legal responsibility. How? That they cannot be sued in any court. As in the Britain, council of ministers cannot be sued in any court. However, in India, there is no provision in the constitution for the system of legal responsibility. That means that the courts are barred from inquiring into the nature of advice tendered by the ministers to the president. This was it with the responsibility. Now let's know what is the difference between Council of Ministers and Cabinet Ministers. It's very easy and a lot of you might already know it, but let's still go through it. See, Council of Ministers is a wider body, Cabinet is a smaller body. Council of Ministers includes all three categories, that is the Cabinet Ministers, Ministers of States and Deputy Ministers. However, Cabinet involves the part of Council of Ministers, that is the part of the Council of Ministers. Next, Council of Ministers does not meet as a body, so it has no collective functions. Meets as a body, so it has collective functions. Next, Council of Ministers are vested with all the powers, but only in theory. However, Cabinet has the practical exercise of the powers. Next, Council of Ministers' functions are determined by the Cabinet, and Cabinet directs the Council of Ministers by taking policy decisions. Now, the decisions taken by the Cabinet Ministers are implemented by the Council of Ministers, and the supervision of the implementation of the Council of Ministers are done by the Cabinet Ministers henceforth. Then, Council of Ministers is a constitutional body, but Cabinet Ministers concept was inserted in Article 352 of the Constitution by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. And the last point is, Council of Ministers is collectively responsible. However, this enforcement of being collectively responsible is seen by the Cabinet Ministers. Now let's see how different people have different opinion about the description of the role of Prime Minister and then the Council of Ministers. See, Lord Morley described Prime Minister as the first among equals, that is the keystone of the cabinet arch, he is the head of the cabinet. We have other descriptions, let's further look into it. See, some say it's the head of the government, some say it is a moon among lesser stars, some say the Prime Minister is the sun around which planets revolve, the keystone of the constitution, the pivot around which the entire governmental machinery revolves, master of the government, captain of the ship, and the steersman of steering wheel of the ship. But what's the role description of the Council of Ministers? That is the Cabinet Ministers, just the Cabinet Ministers. See, Cabinet is the steering wheel of the ship of the state, keystone of the political line, pivot around which the whole political machinery revolves, which in here case was pivot around which the entire governmental machinery revolves. Then we have solar orb around which the other bodies revolve. Here we had it's the sun around which planets revolve. Then we have the magnet of policy, then hyphen that joins, buckle that binds the executive and legislative departments together, and cabinet is the core of the British constitutional system. This was it with the role of descriptions. We also have a small portion here, that is the role of cabinet. Highest decision making authority, chief policy formulating body, supreme executive authority of the central government, chief coordinator, advisory body to the president. Cabinet is the chief crisis manager, deals with all emergency situations, deals with legislative and financial matters and the foreign policies and foreign affairs here. And then exercises control over higher appointments like constitutional authorities and senior secretariat administrators. Last, we have a small topic called kitchen cabinet. Let's quickly go through it. See, kitchen cabinet, under that it says that kitchen cabinet has become the real center of power. Prime Minister and 2 to 4 influential colleagues is what it involves. What does it do? It advises the Prime Minister on important political and administrative issues and assists him in making crucial decisions. Also, it is composed of not only cabinet ministers but also outsiders like friends and family members. So, in this concept, the kitchen cabinet, we can see its merits, we can see its demerits. Let's see what is it. Under the merits, we can see that kitchen cabinet has much more efficient decision-making body. It can meet more often, deal with business much more expeditiously. Then, it helps the Prime Minister maintaining secrecy. Now, what can be the demerits? It reduces the authority of the status of the cabinet and it circumvents the legal process by allowing outside persons, that is the friends and family members, to play an influential role in the governing, functioning. Also, phenomenon of kitchen cabinet, that is this concept, is not unique to India. However, it exists in USA and Britain and is quite powerful in influencing government decisions there. That's it for today. I welcome your suggestions for new topics. We'll also complete Union Executive by our next video by going through what's the Attorney General of India. Thank you for watching.